Okay, cool. So again, hello to each of you guys, and I hope that you're all doing great. So in the last few sessions, we had a brief chat about programming language. We went through what is binary language. We had a chat about bits and bytes to the different scenarios that we may have in binary word. Then we had a chat about interpreter and compiler-based programming language. We saw what are the differences between these two. As discussed in the previous session, some programming language, the language, or it's better to say a programming language is just like a translator between you and your computer. Programming language, as discussed in the previous session, is like a set of rules or instructions which tells the PC or the machine on how to behave, on how to move. Sorry, I have a bit of background, so if you just mute your microphone, please, there is an
I
icon.
am muted.
Yes, you just need to mute yourself. Thank you. Let me go back. We had a chat about interpreter-based and compiler-based programming language. As discussed, an interpreter-based is a little bit slower, but what it does, it's a start executing your lines of commands from top to the bottom, line by line. So if there is any error or mistakes, you have the times to go and fix it. In the other side, we have compiler-based programming language. A compiler-based programming language will get all of your instructions in one go, and then it goes and execute them. We have some programming language in interpreter-based like Python, and we have some programming language in compiler like C Sharp or C++. Usually, as discussed in the previous sessions, we use compiler-based programming language to create and make softwares. But in the other side, also we had a chat about a scripting language, which is a subset of interpreter-based programming language. And usually it's a light version of programming language. It's usually suitable for repetitive tasks or for automation. And as discussed, Python is one of those interpreter-based programming language. In the previous sessions also, we had a chat about IDEs, Integrated Development Environment. So we had two options. Tonight I will show you both of those two options again. We had two options to use and get access to Python. The first option was to go to python.org website, download Python and install it in your computer, which is a local Python. So you have it only on the devices that it's installed. Or the second option was to use browser-based or cloud-based Python like Google Colab that we had a look on Google Colab in the last session or Replit. There are also some other web version or cloud-based Python softwares that you can get access using a browser. Obviously, when you're using the install version, it's only available on the computers or PCs that you've installed. As we went through the python.org, we saw Python is available across multiple platforms. For example, if you are running Windows, if you are running Linux, I'll show you both of those two options, how to install it in Windows, and also I'll show you how to install it in Linux or Ubuntu. So it goes to the installation. As discussed, it's usually suitable for heavy tasks or if you need to have Python in your local machine. But in the other side, we have the web version or browser version. So it doesn't need any installation. You don't need to keep any hardware or software. The only things that you need to do is to have an internet access, create an account and log in to your account. Then everything is ready for you to go and install coding. As I show you, and let me to reshare my screen again. If you install Python in your device, if you go to this search bar and type Python, if it's correctly installed, when you run the app, you will have a terminal. So we call this black screen a terminal. And it shows that it's Python 3.13.3. We already discussed about the Python versions, and this black screen is the terminal. Later on in our upcoming units and also in Certificate 4, we use terminals a lot. In Windows, we do have another two terminals. One of them is command line or CMD, and that's a window that you are able to communicate with your computer. For example, CMD is another terminal that later on we will use it for some basic things. For example, for network connectivity testings, for checking some basic options in your Windows. That's a terminal. You can type something, for example, just as an example, IP config/on. If I want to see what is the IP address in my computer plus some extra information, I just need to type something just like that. And when you press enter, your PC respond back with some information. Later on, we will work in this type of things. So terminal like this, it's an environment that you can give some commands to your PC and then your PC respond back to you. For example, in this case, I just type ipconfig/all and it says what is this host name plus some extra information like MAC address in my computer, IPv4, IP version 6, default gateway, DNS server, and all the other information that in a networking unit we will learn about them. To put it in a simple, that's an environment that you can communicate with your computer. There are so many terminals available. For example, another terminal that we may use in our Windows environments, it's called PowerShell. Windows PowerShell is another terminal that you can use for communicating with your PC. Windows PowerShell is a little bit more complex and it has more advanced features comparing to command prompt. The same way, if you have Linux computers, you can go and open a terminal, type some commands, and then you are able to communicate with your PC. Later on, we will see some um, operating systems, they don't have a graphic user interface. Unlike Windows, for example, if I send all of this down, in my Windows, I'm able to, for example, create a folder, I'm able to right click, I'm able to click here and there. So we call it a GUI or graphic user interface. Again, later on, we'll talk about all of those things. But highly possible that some operating systems only gives you this terminal. So they don't have any icon to click on or right click on. You just need to type some things, press enter, and communicate with your PC in that way. We call them CLI or command line interfaces. So this is an example of a command line interface like Windows PowerShell or Windows CMD or Bash or terminal in Linux. Anyway, so as you see, I have Python already available here. What we will do tonight, we will see how we are able to create variables in Python. We use print. Print is something that you can ask Python to show you the result. Print doesn't mean printing something to a printer or sending a print to a printer. It means returning the value or showing you the results. The other options that we used in the previous session was using a replit. So replit, let me reshare my screen. Let's send this down and let me bring a browser here. So replit, we used this in the previous session. And as I mentioned, you can create an account if you don't have an account in replit. Or you can also use Google Colab as we discussed in the previous session. Google Colab. These two options are web-based and they are so popular. Google Colab is totally free and you can just log in with your Gmail or you can create an account in Google Colab as well. Or Replit, both of them are fine. So tonight I will start working on some basic codes. Or if you want to use Python by itself, that's totally fine. If you use IDEs, as discussed in the previous session, what was IDE? An IDE, or it's like an scheme. It's like a shell. It has some extra features. As you see, I'm able to type something here. For example, I'm able to type print hello and press enter. You see that it shows me the result, which is hello. We will talk about the syntax, why we are using parentheses, why we are using colon, double colon on single quotations, quotation, double quotation, or single quotation. We will have a chat about that, but it's totally fine. The result is the same. I just type print hello, and when I press enter, it showed me hello. Inside install Python. So multiple options. You can use Python, you can use Google Colab, or you can use Replit. In my class, I prefer to use Replit and I keep working with Replit. Again, for you, it's all up to you. You can use IDEs. In the previous session, we had a chat about different types of IDEs. For example, we had a look on Anaconda, we had a look on PyCharm, Atom, Jupyter. There are so many, and it's all up to you which one you like more. And they differ based on their features. Some features that you can find in an IDE, they may have an autofill options. So when you type something, tonight when I start typing and coding in Replit, you see that when I type something, it automatically guess what I want to do and it automatically complete the whole line for me, which is very convenient. Instead of typing the whole sentence or the whole line of code, you can just press tab and it automatically complete the whole line of code for you. It's all up to you. As I said, in my class, I use Replit. In your case, you can use Replit, Colab, VS Code, PyCharm, Jupyter, Anaconda. You can download them all and compare how they're different. But as discussed in the previous sessions, IDEs usually have some extra features for debugging, for auto-completion, um, also, yeah, some extra functions and features that you can find in IDEs. It's all up to you which way is more convenient for you. Okay, let's talk about some very basic things, which is data type. And in order to talk about data type, I simply go and open one of my work class practice. Another difference, another difference that we may see between using Replit and Python. Let me to switch to another one, class practice, not that one. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, one of the differences that you may see between using Replit and using Python, let me close this PowerShell. Here, when I type print hello and I press enter, it shows me the result here. That's very useful because when you write a couple of lines of codes and you want to see if your code is working or not, you need to print it or you need to type print. When you type print, it shows you the result, if your code is working appropriately or not. Here, when I press enter, it shows me the result in the next line. Print hello, and it printed hello here in the next line. If I go back to Replit, let me send this down, and here I type print, you see that it's automatically suggests me something. Welcome to the tip calculator. It says, do you want to type this? And I would say no. I just want to type hello. Print hello. And if I go and press this run icon here on the top, in line 162. So let me to delete all of these to make sure that my code is fine. Bring this on to the top. Let's rerun it again. You see that it shows the result in the right side. This side, we call it, you see, console and shell. So you can write your code here in this main.py. This is the area that you will write your code, again, as discussed from top to the bottom. And when you run your code, it shows the result here in the right side. Okay. So what I want to do, first of all, I want to talk about data types. And because my board doesn't connect to Zoom and I'm still trying to fix it, I try to discuss about data types here in Replit. So data type. When we are talking about different types of data in Python, for us, for example, we may have numbers, we may have letters. For example, you may have a word like hello, which is a word, or hello word. This is a word or two words. You may have numbers like number 15. You may have a number with decimal like 15.5. You may have true or false. For Python, each of these type of data, they are different, and Python will treat them in a different way. For example, let's just start from numbers. So these are all different types of data that we can use in Python. The first one is a number, like number 10, like number 156. It's a whole number. It doesn't have any decimal value. It's a whole number. It doesn't matter if it's positive or if it's negative, doesn't matter. It's a whole number. And in Python, we name it an integer. And we show it as int. So int or integer, it's a whole number. Doesn't matter positive, negative, or even zero. So zero still is an integer. If you have a number with decimal, for example, 3.14 that we have it when we want to calculate the space or the area in a circle. So we have 3.14. Again, it's a number, but it has decimal value to the right side. In Python, we call this float. So float is a number with decimal. Integer is a whole number without any decimal. So like 32 is integer. So 3.14, because it has decimal, it's a float. 32, it's a whole number, and we name it integer. We have also complex numbers, which is out of the scope of certificate 3. And if we go to cert 4, we will talk about the complex number. But a complex number might be something this. 2 plus 3j. So we don't have it in certificate 3, but if you just want to know, we call this type of numeric types a complex numbers with a real and imaginary part. So it's a type of complex number. So for numeric types, we are talking about data types. Let me to put this down. Data types in Python. So we have float, we have integer, and we have complex number. Another type of data that we may have in Python, it's called string, and we show it with str. Like hello world, as you see. It's a word. It's a combination or a string of letters. So an string or str, it's a sequence of characters enclosed in a quotes, as you see. You may have double quotation like this, or you may have single quotation like this. Doesn't matter. But Python only understands words if you put them in a single quotation or if you put them in double quotation. So if you want to say that it's an string, a sequence of characters, we need to put it in a single quotation or double quotation. Doesn't matter which one, but you need to adhere to, if you started with double quotation, you need to close it with double quotation. If you started with single quotation, you should close it with single quotation. Okay. How do you convert to from a complex? Yes, we will talk about conversion later. First of all, let's learn what are different types of data type, and then later on we will see how to convert, for example, an integer to float or float to integer, a string, and etc. So at this stage, we are just learning about different types of data. So we had numbers. Numbers might be float, integer, or complex. We also have a string, which is a sequence of characters. It should be between quotations or quotes, single quotation or double quotation. That's totally fine. It doesn't mean that it should be only one word or two word. It might be a sentence. For example, a string like this. This is the cert 3 in IVT, for example. It might be a sentence. That's totally fine. Another type of data that we have, so here, if I want to give it a number, first one, numeric types. Second one is an string. The third type of data, as you see, it's Boolean, and we show it as bool, B-O-O-L. Booleans have only two possible values. It might be true or it might be false. True or false. A condition is true or a condition is false. For example, 3 is bigger than 2. Yes, it's obvious, and this condition is always true. Always 3 is bigger than 2. Or it might be false conditions. For example, if I say 2 is bigger than 3, which is not, and it's a false condition. We use Booleans a lot in our coding as well. An example of true or false, for example, imagine we will write a code, for example, to check the students or teachers. It's raining, true, it means that it's raining. Or is a student is equal to true. So later on, we will use all of this when we are writing the codes for a real application. Is this person a student? Yes. Okay, so in that case, allow them to log in. Is this person not a student? Okay, so don't allow them to access to the Wi-Fi. Don't allow them to log into VUC. All of those things. Later on, we will write the code to see how it works. Another type of data that we use is list. What is the list? A list is a ordered, changeable. So let me to type here. It's an ordered, changeable collection of items. As you see, it has the auto completion. Automatically it guesses, and it uses AI. Now it's use AI helping us to have better coding experience. So when I typed order changeable, it's automatically suggested collections of items. So ordered changeable, and it allows the applications collections of items. Like what? For example, I may have fruits, and for the fruits, it might be apple, banana, and cherry. It's very important also to see the difference between parentheses, brackets, and curly brackets. So here I have brackets. When we want to show list, we use brackets. When we want to use dictionary, we use curly brackets. All other times, we use parentheses. They are different. So what is a list? A list is an ordered, changeable, which allows the application set of items. For example, fruits might be apple, banana, and cherry. It might be a list of students. It might be a list of customers. It might be a list of IP addresses. It might be a list of firewall rules. So just learn the topic, and later on we will expand it to IT or cybersecurity or networking examples. We have tuple and we have a range as well, which is out of the scope of certificate 3. You can simply find them by doing a quick Google search. I just use a range because we need range in a couple of activities. Range, as you see, it's a sequence of numbers, often used in loops. But because we use loops in certificate 3, I talk about range as well. So what is a range? It's a sequence of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In this case, for range, it might be like this. Range of 1 to 10. It doesn't mean only 1 and 10. It means 1 up to 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Doesn't include usually number 10. We will talk about this later. So it's a range of numbers. It's very useful. For example, imagine we want to repeat a task as discussed. Python is a useful tool when we want to do repetitive tasks. For example, we want to um, um, scan 1500 IPs. So we don't want to do it one by one. So we can create a range in a subnet. Then we can ask Python, go and check all of these IPs. Or usually hackers or attackers, when they want to crack a password. Imagine that you have a bike with a combination lock, or you have a suitcase with a combination lock, and you forgot what was the password, and it has only 3 digits. So you can't remember what was the password that you had for that lock. What you will do, usually you set the code or the password to 000, and then you start every single option. So 000, 001, 002, 003, 004, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and all the way down to 999. And if you've been lucky to set your password pretty close to zero, it may take you half an hour or 1 hour. It's exactly the same things that password crackers softwares try to do. They go and check all possible options. Heaps of the time, they may have an idea. For example, imagine in our class, for example, I have Connor, and I want to, for example, hack Connor password. I don't want to do that, but let's say, I guess probably Connor may have a password, including the name and a number. The number might be date of birth, the number might be student ID. I don't know. But what I can do, just try all possible numbers. For example, Connor 123, 1234, 1235, all the numbers. And nowadays, there are softwares that are using quantum pieces that are able to guess billions of passwords in a very short time. This process that's trying by trial and error, it's called brute forcing. We will later on in Certificate 4 talk about brute force. Or brute force attack is a type of attacks that by trial and error. But for example, when you try to log into your account, if you put a wrong password for 3, 4, 5 times, it automatically locks your account. It says, did you forget your password? And if you say no and keep repeating, after a few attempts, it will lock out your account. That's a security thing. It avoids someone by using brute force, or for example, writing some commands or some codes in Python to go and check every single possible option. Later on again in Certificate 4, Cybersecurity, there are some units that we will see how we are able to enable lockout policy in one computer or across a domain, and all the options that we have for password security. Anyway, range is very useful. When we want to repeat a task for multiple times, range or loops are very, very useful. Another type of data that we may see is dictionaries or dict. They are another type of data that we may have in Python. Dictionaries, as you see, unordered, changeable collection of key and value pairs. It's very important. So it's a key value. It means that we need to have two data. Like what? For example, I can say a student. Name is John. As you see, there are two pairs. So name is John, age is 25, and course is mathematics or computer science or whatever. So we have pair of data. They pair to each other. Unlike list, in the list we have one single data like apple, banana, or something like that. When we have a dictionary, it's a key value pairs. The first part of this key value is the key, which is name, and value is John. Another key is age, and the value is 25. Another key is course, cybersecurity, certificate 390, or whatever. So as you see for dictionary, we have curly brackets. It's not brackets like this, like in lists, and it's not a parenthesis. It's very important when you want to create a dictionary. Why they are important? Because if you don't follow this syntax, if you don't follow these rules, it gives you an error. I show you so many errors intentionally. We put something right in Python to see how it responds. At this stage, we just want to see what different types of data do we have in Python. We have also set and known type. Again, it's out of the scope of certificate 3. So set, and it says it's unordered collection of unique items. So unlike list that we may have duplication, like apple, banana, cherry, and apple again, that's okay if you have one item multiple times. In set, it's a unique combination of values. It doesn't accept any duplications. So we don't use set and list in certificate 3. In certificate 4, we will have it. I just wanted to show you different types of data that we have in Python. Let's start from the top. So for numeric, we know that we have float and integer. We use them a lot. Complex, we don't use complex in certificate 3. We also have a string. Anything between those single quotation or double quotation, they called an string. An string of characters. Boolean, BOOL, two value, true or false. List, ordered changeable collection of items. Fruits, cars, students, or whatever. Range, it's a range of numbers, a sequence of numbers. Dictionaries, it's a collection of key and value pairs. Usually it has two part, name, age, weather, temperature, and etc. And we may have set. Okay, so let's do start something more practical. Another thing that I want to discuss, so if you don't need this, I delete it. Another thing that I want to have a chat is a variable. Variable. What is a variable? A variable is something we change, something we varies. It's not fixed. For example, if I ask your name is something fixed. Yes, obviously you can change your name as well if you wish, but we don't expect, for example, a person change their name every day or every hour. So pretty fixed. But what about age? It's something change. What about temperature? It's changed. Temperature today is 18. Tomorrow it might be 20. In the morning it might be 10. And the night it might be 13. It keeps changing. We call it a variable. Sorry, here it should be variable. So variable is something that keeps changing. And we use variables a lot in Python. A variable in Python is a name that we use to keep and save and store our data. You can think about it as a box. For example, imagine you have a box and you name it temperature. In that box, there might be different numbers. One day, temperature is 18. Tomorrow, you take this number 18 out of the box and you insert another number. And it should be temperature with E. So we have a box. In this box, it's labeled temperature. Today it has number 20. Tomorrow you change it to 21. Or you take it out and you put 15. It keeps changing. Imagine you may have another variable or another box for age. It's 20. It might be 25. It might be 45. How many variables and how many boxes we may have? So many. Doesn't have any limit. You can create so many variables for your coding. And in reality, there are so many variables in a code as well. So what is a variable? A variable is a name we use to store data in memory. So let me to put it here. Variable is a name. Because I don't have my board, I need to type here. So it's a name used to store data in memory. So Python has a memory, it keeps your data in memory, so you can use or change it later in your program. So variable is a name that we can use to store our data somewhere in Python memory, and we can use it. So here I have only one line of code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line of code. In reality, an application may have hundreds and hundreds of codes, and you can use the variable again and again and again and again and again so many times. For example, imagine I have your student ID. With your student ID, I'm able to insert your attendance. With your student ID, I'm able to mark and publish your results. With your student ID, I'm able to create labs for you with your student. So it's a variable, it keeps changing. For each student, the student ID is different. But with that variable, with that student ID, I'm able to perform so many tasks. We will see how it works. At this stage, just wanted to show you and talk about what is a variable. So as discussed, think a variable is like a box. So think of it like a labeled box. Okay. You can put anything in it and you can change it later. For example, age is a variable. It can be different from person to person. In our class, there are 25 students and you have different ages. I want to talk about variables in our tonight session because it's a very important topic and sometimes it might be a little bit confusing. First of all, when you want to create a variable, you type the name of your variable like this, age, then you put equal. It doesn't matter if you put equal with no space or if you have a space and then put your equal sign. In the left side of this equal sign, I have the variable name, which is age. And in the right side, I have a number, for example, in this case. Age is equal to 20. 20 is the value. So here I have value. In the left, I have variable. So variable is in the left, value is on the right. So you have a box, it's labeled age, and you put number 20 in that box. When you think this way, it's very important because later on, when I move on, it's highly possible that the value of a variable keep changing. So if you're stuck with the first value, it might be confusing. It's highly possible that your variable keeps changing. At this stage, it has the value of 20. So it's like you have a number 20, you put it in this box. What is the box label? Age. Imagine I can create another variable, name it name, and as you see, I have John between quotation. Why? Because John is not a number. John is a name, it's an string, it's an str. So it should be in a quotation. I have two variables, age and name, and the values are 20 and John, two different values. When you want to create variables, Python has strict rules for naming your variables. First of all the variables must start, so these rules are very important, must start with a letter or underscore. So when you want to create a variable, it should start with a letter or an underscore, like this. So it's a letter, name, or it might be an underscore, like this. That's okay. But if you have something like this, one name, it's invalid. Python doesn't allow you to create a variable starting with numbers. If you have name1, it's okay. Name1 is okay. So you can have a variable like that. Name1 is something. Oh, but one name, it's invalid. So all of our variables, when you want to create a variable, it should start with a letter or an underscore. Name is okay, underscore name is okay, but any number or any other symbols starting at the beginning of your variable name is invalid. It doesn't allow you. I'll show you. You try to create a variable with a number. It gives you a syntax error. And in the previous sessions, we had a chat about syntax and syntax error. Syntax is the rule in Python. It's the logic. So if you don't follow the rules, it gives you an error. It says, sorry, I cannot execute your code. So it should start with a letter or underscore. That's the first rule when you want to create a variable. It can contain letters, numbers, and underscore only. What does it mean? For example, I'm able to create something like this, a student underscore name. That's totally fine. A student underscore name. It's valid and it's accepted. It didn't give us any error. That's fine. You can create some variables like that. But this one, a student hyphen name, it's invalid. As you see, it says this is not valid. Why? Because instead of using an underscore, I have a hyphen. Python doesn't like it. If you ask why, it's the way that it's designed. It doesn't allow you to create something like that. Even if you put in a space, for example, a student name, you want to create a variable like this, a student's name, name it John something. Again, Python doesn't allow you to have a space. It says, sorry, it's invalid syntax. So when you want to create a variable, first of all, we need to make sure that it's a start with a letter or underscore. You can put letters, numbers, or etc. But you are not able to use spaces in your variable, like here, punctuations, or special characters. It doesn't allow you to use those items. It's invalid. So that's the second important rule when you want to create variables. The third rule when you want to create variables name is variables are case sensitive. What does it mean? A student name and a student name. These two are not the same because the first variable, it's a start with lowercase. The second one is an uppercase. They are not the same, so Python doesn't understand it. For us as human, that's okay, a student name, so we don't care if it's lowercase or if it's uppercase, or if it's something like that, a student name with no space or with no underscore. For us as human, it's totally fine. We don't care, we just ignore it. But for Python, it doesn't understand. So if you create a variable with lowercase, you should to adhere to that slide across all of your codes. Sometimes it's problematic. So for yourself, just set an style when you want to create variables. You can set an style for yourself. I always go lowercase, or I always go uppercase, or I always use underscore, or I connect if there are two or three words, I connect them to each other. So when you have consistency across your code, it makes your job and it makes your coding much easier for troubleshooting and for debugging. But if you don't have any style, for example, sometimes you start with uppercase, sometimes you start with lowercase, sometimes then you may get some errors and you have no idea where the error is coming from. We will see all of this. We will see that Python gives you errors when you are using, for example, lowercase and uppercase, but it's not consistent in your coding. The other rule that we need to know, Python has some keywords. So cannot be a Python keyword. Python by itself, it has some keywords. It reserved some words and we are not able to use it. For example, for. You see, for, it changed to blue. If, else. These are some words that's reserved for Python. And as you see, it changed to another color. With, is. Those, those values, when they change the color, it means that it's reserved by Python. I'm not able to create a variable with the name of for or if. So if I want to create a variable like this, if is equal to, it doesn't accept it, it doesn't like it. Why? Because if is a reserved word. There are some reserved words like class, true, false, if, for. There is a list of reserved words. And how should I know that? As I said, Python usually, or if you're using an IDE, it changed the color so you know that it's not available. And also it gives you an error. It says that you are not able to use this name for your variable names. Okay, so now we have a good understanding of the main rules for creating variable. Let me see what you have in the chat. Can character cause any conflicts? For example, hello world from BU or using brackets within brackets. Yes, characters can cause conflict. Found it good. I'm sorry, that's okay, Karen. Okay, cool. So let's move on and see how we are able to write some codes. Now we know about the data types. We know about the variable names. The first thing that I want to show you is print. So print hello world. First of all, as you see, if you're using replit, you see print change its color to something like gray or brown. And also when you put something in quotation, it changed to brown. If I go and click on this run icon here, just like a play icon, you see it typed hello world here in the console, so you can see the result. Okay, it's pretty easy. Another thing that I want to show you is assigning and reassigning variable. Imagine I have a variable like x and it's equal to 10, and I have another variable which is y and it's equal to 20. That's okay. So in the first line, you say, hey, Python, you have two boxes. One box labeled X, so put number 10 in that box. You have another box, which is labeled by Y or Y, and it has the value of 20. If you go and say print, so we know that print always shows the result. Print X plus Y. It doesn't need to put equal sign here. Just print X plus Y. So in the first line, you said that I have a box, or I create a box, label X. I have another box labeled Y. In the third line, you say, now go and print the result of X plus Y. If I run this code, You see that it shows number 30 here. Cool. So it's pretty easy and pretty obvious. If I say, look, now x is equal to 20, and again I go print x plus y, what happens here? So you see, firstly, I created a variable. My variable is x, number 10. Another variable is y with the non-value of 20. In line 3, I ask, please add these two numbers and give me the result. In line 4, I said, now imagine you have a value of 20 assigned to variable x. So what do you think? Do you reckon it shows 30? If I run the code, it shows 30, it shows 40, or it shows both 30 and 40. How do I get that section on Replit? Replit, you just need to create an account in Replit. And yes, just go Replit, search it in Google, then you can log in even with your Gmail account. So what do you think when I run this code, what would be the result? Do you reckon it shows me 30? Do you reckon it shows me 40? Or do you reckon both? Yes, correct. Very good, Care. So Care says that I think both. Karen, good. Yes. Why? Because Python is interpreter based. It goes to the first line. In the first line, you didn't ask Python to do anything for you. You just said create a variable and put 10. In the next line, you said create another variable, give it number 20. In the next line, it goes and print it. So it gives you number 30. Then it goes to the next line. The next line says, now replace the value in your memory. You had 10. Now go and change it to 20. So Python says, okay, I refresh my memory. Instead of keeping 10, now I assume that x has the value of 20. So it gives you both numbers. If I run the code, you can see the result. Look, both 30 and 40. Why it's changed? Because it's refreshed its memory. It's very important. First of all, x has the value of 10, but then we replace it to 20. So when it goes to the same, look, it's the same command in line 3 and line 5. Both commands are the same. Print x plus y, print x plus y. But firstly, it shows number 30 because it has the value as 10. But then you change it. That's the reason that we name this variable, because it keeps changing. Another thing that I want to show you is a possible for multiple assignment. For example, instead of saying A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2, and 3 is equal to 3. Instead of going that way, you can do this way. A, comma, B, comma, C equal to 1, 2, 3. So it knows that, okay, you mean 1 is equal to A, 2 for B, and 3 for C. We name it multiple assignments. That's totally fine if you go this way as well. Or imagine all of your variables have the same value. For example, I have A equal to 5, I have B equal to 5, and I have C equal to 5 as well, D equal to 5 as well. Instead of going that way, you can put it this way. A is equal to B is equal to C is equal to 5. So these things might be very easy and basic, but later on, if you have 100 lines of code, it saves heaps of time and it helps us to reduce the potential errors. Also, the other thing that it's good to mention is, for example, here I have x equal to 10. So 10, we know that it's an integer. If you want to change it dramatically and say, look, you already have a number, but now I want to change it to hello world. So that's totally fine. Firstly, it has an integer, then you change it to an string. If I ask you, what is the type of this? You have number 6, but it's between quotation. Is it an integer or is it an string? So what will be your answer? It's an string. Good. Yes. Python doesn't care if you have a number. It firstly goes, and when it says that, okay, it seems that you have two quotation or a single quotation, when you have quotation, it's an string. So it doesn't matter if it's a number here, but because you put it in a quotation, I treat it as an string. It's very important because next session tomorrow, I will talk about input function. And we see that by default, when you are using input, it gives you a string value and we need to convert it. That one of you guys today asked how to convert. Christian asked how to convert. So tomorrow when we are using input function, we will see that by default, it gives us a string and we need to convert sometimes, for example, an integer to float, or we want to convert a float to integer. But here I just wanted to show you that it's possible to give a variable into an integer or a float or a string. That's totally fine. Okay, let's to also show you another thing. For example, imagine name, so that's a variable, is equal to a name like Dan. Okay, so I have a variable and its name. I assigned name Dan to this variable. If you are not sure and you want to see what is the type of this, so you can type print, parentheses, type, parentheses open, name, and you have two close parentheses. It's very important. First of all, let's run this to see what should be the outcome. So I have a variable name, and I want to see if this variable has a string, it has integer or float. So obviously we say integer. Let's see the result. And you see it says the class is a string, str. If you change this to a number and you run the code again, it says that it's an integer. If you put a decimal value and you rerun the code, it shows it's a float as discussed. The other thing that I want to show you is this one. Imagine instead of print type name, name is the variable, and type, it shows you what is the data type. What happens if you forget to close the second parenthesis? Here, as you see, I have one parenthesis open here and the second one open here. What happens if I forgot to put the second parenthesis? It gives you an error. For you, it's okay. You understand what does it mean. For human, it's fine. It says, print type of the name, so I understand what you mean. But because you have two open parentheses here, but you have only one closed parenthesis, it gives you an error. What it says? It says syntax error, unexpected EOF while parsing. So probably doesn't make any sense. What do you mean? Expected while parsing. So if you're using IDEs, usually IDEs, they give you more information about the error and how to fix it. Also, as you see, it says it should be in line 3. I have only 2 lines. So it shows you, heaps of the time, it shows you an approximate location where the error is coming from. So it says that you have an error here. You forgot to put the second parenthesis. What happens if I put only, let's do this way. Print hello world with no parentheses. So what happens if you go and run your code? Again, it gives you an error. It says syntax error, missing parentheses. And also it gives you more information. It says, did you mean print hello world in the parentheses? So that's the syntax that you need to follow. Otherwise, it doesn't work. If you put only one parenthesis and rerun the code, again, it doesn't work. It says you need to have two parentheses. Why it's important? Because in the previous case, I had only two open parentheses. Sometimes in more complex codes, you may have 10, 15 open parentheses. So you need to go and check. If you have an open parenthesis, it needs to be closed. If you have 14 open parentheses, you need to have 14 closed parentheses. Otherwise, if you have more or if you have less, it gives you the same error. What happens if you have the parentheses, but you forgot to put the first quotation? Again, invalid syntax with no more information. If you put the first quotation and you forgot the second one, again, it says EOL while scanning a string literal. So it's another error. Do you reckon if I put some space here, does it have any impact on my code? Let's see. So you see, no, it's still run as correctly mentioned by a start. So if your spaces are between the print and your parentheses, doesn't have any impact. Python will ignore it. What if I put a spaces here, like this? Do you reckon it will change the result? Yes, let's see. So you see, you get the same result. If the space is between your print and anything outside of your quotation, Python will skip it. It's just like, for example, I say I have $20, or if I say I have $20. They're both the same. So usually in our mathematics, if you have zeros in the left side, we ignore it. But if you put a spaces here inside your quotation, do you reckon it has an impact? You see, yes, it shifted your words to the right. What if you put your spaces between the two words? Again, what's the problem? It says, oh, sorry, you have two. So let's rerun it again. Look, so now a space will consider. If you have the space somewhere between your quotation, then it's important. What if you put the spaces here? There should be no change because it should be some spaces here in the right side, which is not visible. The same thing. But if I have something like this and I rerun the code, then you can see the spaces. It's very important. Now imagine I want to print something in another way. For example, imagine I have a name. It's equal to Connor, and I have last name as Smith, for example. and I have age as 25. Okay, so I created 3 variables, name, last name, and age. In the previous example, I just typed print hello world. Here, I want to make it a little bit more complex. So I can say print name. When you type print name, as you see, because the name here is a variable, it doesn't need to be between quotation because it's not a string, it's a variable. So just having parentheses open, parentheses closed should be okay. If you run this code, it shows Connor. If you change to last name and rerun the code, it shows Smith. If you change age, it shows 25. It seems it's very, very easy, but that's the logic that you have it in our databases. For example, you may have a database with hundreds of names, last names, age, student ID, and I just want to filter data based on age. Or I want only to get access to last name starting from S. So it has the same programming language in the back. When you go and, for example, click on some icons in your application, for example, you click on some icon here, in the back, it has line of codes like this. When you want to sort, when you want to filter. If I ask print all of this information, you just need to use a comma like that. Name, last name, and age. So run the code. Connor Smith 25. What happens if I'm in rush and instead of typing age, AGE, I type AEG? I was in rush and I didn't check my spelling. If you click and run the code, it says, oh, what do you mean? AEG is not defined. Is not defined. It means that, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean. What happens if instead of age, I put age with capital? Again, it says age is not defined. For us as human, you say, oh, it doesn't matter. It's lowercase. It means that what is the age? But for Python, it's not defined. It doesn't have any idea what do you mean. What happens if I put another variable as well, like weight or height, for example? If you run the code, again, it gives you the same error. It says, oh, sorry, I don't know what do you mean. Let me fix this. What it says this variable is not defined. What happens here, when you run the first code, you say, look, create a box, name it name, and put Connor as a value. Okay, done. Then it goes to the second line. Create the second box, label it last name, and put a Smith in that box. Done. Go to line 3, create another box, name it age, and assign a value 25. Done. Go to next line and print name. So when Python arrives here, it says, okay, it asked me to print name. What is name? So it goes up. Yes, name is here. What is the value? Connor. Okay, so I will print Connor here in the console. Then it goes to the next section, last name. Let me see if I have any variable last name. Yes, it's here in line 2. So here, because I have only 4 lines, it's very easy. But if you have 400,000 lines and you have 10,000 variables, then it's very important. You need to make sure that that variable is already defined. Why? Because Python goes and check if you put last name here. So let me to cut and put it here. And I delete these 2 variables as well. So what do you think? Do you reckon now it works or not? It's a good example. No, it doesn't work. Why? Because firstly, you ask for name. Okay, it goes up and find the name. Let's see if it works or not. You see that again, it gives you an error. It says, I don't know what do you mean by last name. You say last name is here. Look, it's here in line 4. Why it doesn't find it? Because it's an interpreter-based programming language. It's the stuff from top to the bottom. So here it goes firstly to first line, second line. In the third line, you say go and print last name. So it goes up, it doesn't go down. It goes up to check for last name. Do you have any last name? No. Last name? No. So it gives you an error. It doesn't go to the next line. So if you have millions of lines after this line 4, it doesn't execute it because it's stuck here. It's not good. Just because of an error somewhere in your code, it's stopped the whole application to stops working. Yes, unfortunately. So the order is important. Here, it doesn't matter if I put it here in line 1. Even if you put some blank lines, that's fine, doesn't matter. Still, it run the code because it's able to go and find it. It goes to the first line. Yes, I can find last name here. Name, I'm able to find it. So the order here is not important, but later on, we will see that order is also important. In this case, it's important to have your variables on top of the print. Again, if you put name after print, it doesn't work as you expect. Again, it says name, I can't find it. Why? Because it's in the next line, and Python doesn't go to next line. It goes to the top lines to find name. And because it's not here, here it's only age and last name, it gives you this error. It says that it's not defined. It's defined, but it's after this function in code. So it doesn't execute it. You can make it nicer. For example, like this. Gradually, I show you more and more tricks to make your codes nicer. So firstly print the name, then print the last name, and then print A. Here you can change it like this. You can type hi, quotation mark close, hi name. Then, so here when you have a quotation, it goes and print it straight away. Then it goes to the second part, which is a variable. It goes and replace it. Then it goes to the third section. It's the last name. It goes and replace it. Here you can put something like this. Uh, you are 25 volts. Okay, so just have a look here. It's a bunch of everything. Print hi is an string, so it will be printed straight away. Then you have another variable, then again, whatever you have inside the quotation will be printed exactly the same, another variable and olds. Let's to run this. Hi Connor Smith, you're 25 years old. Great, yes. So imagine I can make it nicer. Imagine I want to send a group email to 1,500 new students. And I just want to change the email to their exact name and last name. So what I can do, I can create something like this. Welcome to VU. I want to inform you about, and you can type your code, whatever you want to say. Put it that way. Run your code. What is the error here? It says name is not defined. I deleted name and I don't need age. So run the code. Hi, John Smith. Welcome to VU. I want to inform you that some things. So you can have your text here, blah, 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 anything that you want to send. Then you have only two variables, name and last name. Then you can go and create a loop. Later on, we will use for I in range of 1,500 student, 15,000 students. Or imagine it's a bank. They want to send something to 15,000 customers, 1 million customers, but they want to make it more personal. So just with 4 or 5 line of code like this, it goes and read the data from database, it change and replace the name, the last name, but the message is the same for all the students. The message is the same for all the customers. Very, very useful. At this stage, because we don't know and still we are learning, so I just please ignore this part, but later on we will learn how to work with loops, how to create a loop. Then we will learn how to create, how to connect these codes to a database. Then it goes and reads all the data from a database. You can give access to emails as well, or you can create a dictionary. For example, John Smith, you can have an email as well, another variable like this, John Smith at live.edu.au. With just like 10 lines of code, it's able to perform a task 15,000 times, 150,000 times, just with 10 lines of code. So it's awesome. And it's personal. So it's not like a group email sending to everyone, because later on when you go to cert 4, we will learn about spear phishing. Imagine that every day you get so many phishing emails coming to your inbox and you just ignore them. But imagine you got an email which has your name and your last name. It's not like a general unnamed email, or it's not like a general unnamed letter. So it has more chance to get your attraction. We call this spear phishing. Again, in cybersecurity, you will learn about them. A spear phishing email. It's customized. As you see, it's customized. It has the name, it has the last name. If you have the student name and you want to put the student ID and you want to put the student ID as well, you can do that. Very, very strong tool. Okay, so what else? Data type, you know about the data types, you know about the rules for variables. Just to wrap up everything about the variable names. Imagine, to delete all of this. All the basic calculations that you have in a calculator are available here as well. Imagine I have x is equal to 10 and I have y equal to 20. So you can type print x plus y, x minus y. Multiplication, you need to use a star sign. If you want to multiply two values, it should be a star sign. And if you want to divide two numbers, then you need to use a slash. So I have two numbers and I want to add, and all the other four basic calculations, multiplications and division. If I run this code, you see 10 plus 20, it's 30, which is correct. 10 minus 20, it's minus 10, which is correct. 10 times 20, 200, correct. 10 divided by 20 is 0.5, which is correct. Power, if you want to know about power, you had it in your high school. 2, for example, by power of 3, you need to use 2 s stars, 2 by power of 3. It means it's 2 times 2 times 2. Oh, sorry. 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So we use these operators in our coding as well. 2 by power of 3. So sometimes in my classes when I ask, is there any difference between 2 by power of 3 or 3 by power of 2? Students, they say, no, they are the same. But they are not. 3 by power of 2, it means 3 times 3, which is 9. And it's different with 2 times 3, which is 6. So the same way you can ask, for example, 10 by power of 20, which is a very big number, so I don't want to ask Python to do that. Now this is the 4 basic calculations. If you want to find the remainder, that's the sign for reminder. I don't want to confuse you, so I just skip it. If I change, for example, x to 2 and y to 23, and I want to see 2 by power of 23. So let's run the code. Okay, so 2 plus 23, it's 25. 2 minus 23, minus 21. 2 times 23, it's 46. 2 divided by 23, it's this decimal number. And 2 by power of 23, it's like 8,388,608. And also, as I showed you before, if you want to see the type of each data, you just need to type print, parentheses, type of x, type of, or imagine if you don't want, that's another thing, but to do that as well, we can create a variable for each of these calculation. You can say sum is x plus y, and then here you can go and type print sum. So I created a variable. The variable is x plus y, and if I go and type print sum, it shows me 25. The same way you can create a variable, for example, multiplication is equal to x times y, and then you can type print multiplication. Says print, again you say it says print is not defined. I forgot to put R here, so print multiplication, so you see it works. So here if you go and change x to 3 and rerun the code, you see it gives you another result. If you change x to 10 and you run the code, it gives you another result. So these are the very basic things, but slowly we use all of this piece of skills to write a functional, fully functional application. We just want to get familiar on how to use these tools. Okay, cool. Any question?